Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening. How is everyone doing today? I hope you can hear me loud and clear. And we also have with me Parna and Kapil. We are a little short on the support today because there is a long weekend in UK and obviously a lot of people are traveling. So hi Parna, hi Kapil. I hope everyone is doing okay and we would go ahead with discussion of lots of things. But before we start, I want to know if you are attending any of these summits. If you are going to any of the AWS summit. I met some of you into London summit. Any of you going into Bangalore summit, or maybe there is a Mumbai also, Parna, is it? Mumbai?
That just got done about a
That's
week
done.
ago.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, there are a lot of summit season going on. So probably you would get time to you to go forward and meet people. Some of the interesting sessions happen there. So we will be discussing lots and lots of stuff today also. Bank holiday. Yeah, it's a bank holiday here. So Monday is a holiday. So good thing. Holidays are always welcome, isn't it? Okay, so we will quickly go forward and we'll play a role of a customer and AWS technical person, and we will be discussing about network observability. This would be today me and Parna, and we would be focusing on the content of observability and all. And keep your questions coming. Kapil is there to help you answer, and later Kapil would talk about some of the Q&A so that you would be able to understand these things better. One more check. Has anyone seen this movie Watchmen or had read the comic books in the old days? Watchmen. Anyone? Anyone fan of Watchmen? If you have watched it, who is your favorite character? For me, it would be Mr. Blue here, who is called Mr. Manhattan into that movie. So I have watched this movie, read the comic book also in old days, and I like this character that has been made from atomic blast. So that's what Manhattan Project, if you heard about US, and that's the name which is given to this particular character. All right, not a lot of fans here, I guess, for Watchmen, but that's fine, completely okay. Watchmen, okay, good. So let's start our conversation. Parna, I'll let you tell your pen points and then I'll try to explain these things. So today I'm going to play a role of an AWS technical person. Parna is one of the customer. We had similar discussion about observability last time. It was me and Parna again, and that time we talked about the overall system and operate on our business observability. But right now we would be focusing more on the network observability side. So let's go ahead and see that. Welcome,
All
Parna.
right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ashish. Really good to see you here, and I really need a lot of guidance. We have a lot of workloads which we are expanding. Number of accounts are increasing. We
Mm-hmm.
are expanding in other regions. So you can imagine the network complexity that is coming into the picture.
Yep.
So not only are we having workloads on the cloud built natively, we are connected on premises, plus we have VPCs in other regions. So all this is adding a lot of complexity. So my network engineers are overwhelmed. They need some kind of mechanism to understand how do they monitor these networks to ensure that they are reliable, they are secure, and if there are any services in AWS which can help me with that and help me troubleshoot. So I'm here to get all those insights from you.
I agree on that, Barna. And I would say, as a customer, you are not new. This happens because when people migrate from on-prem to cloud, the network team is fine-tuned to do network troubleshooting or optimization in a certain manner. In cloud, it's a little bit differently done. So people who come to cloud, they first have to understand what is the concept of a VPC, what is a subnet, and why AWS has to do a little bit of modification in the way we is implementing. Let me explain that too. It's just to give you a background.
Sure.
When AWS started building their network, they realized that they needed a huge scale and they needed the fast performance for that many customers. So AWS started trying out every vendor's equipment, maybe different companies, different solutions, but none of them was able to scale and give the performance we were looking for. So what we had to do, we have to build the network ground up. So if we are building network ground up, why we have to stick to the same primitive which are there in into on-prem? Why don't we come up with our own mechanism of simplifying the cloud networking? And that's why you will find some of the components are not exactly same as it happens into on-prem network, but they are similar to what you will have. Like if you have VLAN in your physical network, we have a concept called subnet here. If you are looking for let's say network routing, then we have route table into our environment. So concepts are similar.
Right.
We are not changing how IP fundamentally works, but we have modified in a way so that it is becomes easy for customer to move from on-prem to cloud and still follow the same standard. So I'll obviously try to help you out, and we will go into some of these scenarios. We will try to understand some of the component associated with network observability. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the component which I feel can be very useful to you. So as happens with AWS, there are multiple services and they have very specific use cases. If you look on the screen at the very bottom, you could see some names: the AWS Network Manager, Network
So
Access
Ashish,
Analyzer.
I think we don't can't see the slide deck.
Is it? Okay.
We are
Is
still
everyone able to see the slide deck?
I'm seeing still Watchman over there. What about the others?
Let's wait. Let's wait for them to confirm. If you can see the slide,
Couple, are you able to see the slide?
that's bad. Then let me see. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Because full screen layout. Let me go to that. Do you see the screen now?
No, not yet.
Now?
Yes, yes, we can see it now.
Okay. So means that's fine. Means I was a little confused, but let me explain it again. I'll go back to that slide and explain it. So if you are
Sure.
seeing the Watchman poster, that's fine. If you look at the bottom of the poster, you would find the name of the services which we will be having into this. Now this track is about solution architect associate. So we will focus on some of the component which are specific to solution architect associate exam, and I'll probably able to show you some demo around it. So we will be focusing on network observability. There was a question that what is the difference between network monitoring and observability. So let me address that too. Monitoring is talking about just monitoring and not taking any action. It is mostly reactive. You monitor something, You find out something is complicated or something is not working expected, you go ahead and fix it. Observability is going beyond that monitoring plus finding out why it happened and how we can prevent it into future. So observability is more forward looking or more of proactive measurement, whereas monitoring is a reactive measurement. So observability has monitoring also in that, but monitoring's next level is what you can think of observability. So a person who reacts to situation and a person who is smart enough to predict the situation and then take care of the problems if they occur. So that is what I would prefer as observability. And in our previous sessions, we talked in detail about network observability. I gave some analogies too, so check that too. I'll put a link into
So,
the chat.
so correct me if I'm wrong, Ashish. So I would say monitoring would be like we proactively set off some alarms, and our reactive nature or the observability part is if the threshold is crossed and there's an alarm, we react to it and do some remediation. Is that what you mean? The analysis part is the observability part?
It's one of the thing, Parna, there. So instead of just reacting, we want to also go into that why it happened. So why is important in
Analysis.
observability?
Right.
Monitoring talks about what happened. Okay,
Got
what
it.
happened? Maybe my network got lot of network traffic, so that is what happened. But why it
Right.
happened, that is where we will talk about observability. We'll go into the root cause analysis, as we sometimes call RCA in technical word, and we will try to understand that why it actually happened, what component were involved in that, and what can be done, what lessons we learn from it, and how we prevent these things from happening in future. So that is how I
Got
would
it.
put it. So monitoring is about what, and observability is about why. Make
Got it.
sense?
Makes sense. Yes.
Good. Okay. Now,
All
I'm going to talk about observability as a holistic thing, and then I'll go into specific services. So let's see what we need observability for. So mostly when people come from on-prem, they are mostly aware about the observability. But let me give an idea of why observe your network. So let's see what could be the reason. Very common thing you would observe your network is for troubleshooting and performance issues, because there are so many moving components. You need to ensure everything is working as expected. So that is one factor. Then you may want to also optimize and understand cost. This is different than on-prem, because it's on-prem. You pay a fixed cost for your network connection. Let's say your lease line, you have internet connection, so there is a fixed cost. But in cloud, your cost will depend on how much traffic is flowing. And this is one of the factor which lots of time customer do not account for and get confused. So it's better that we also monitor and observe that how much traffic is going, how much is the cost contributing to that particular traffic. So once we know where the money is going, we can start optimizing, and that's why observability will also be required. Also, in network, security is very important. Obviously, everything is required security, and governing network security is important aspect too. And that's why we need to observe a network. What if we start seeing traffic from an unknown IP address, or what if
right.
we start seeing lot of DDoS attacks? So we need to monitor those type of thing. Plus, we may need to identify any anomalous behavior. Anomalous in the sense, let's say I log into my environment from my home in London, but what if I'm today detecting a login from Stockholm? Is it expected? Is it anomalous? So we need to identify that too. And we don't want any human to take care of these things. We want machines or systems to take care of this anomalous behavior. Maybe if they detect anomalous behavior, they could go ahead and pose an extra question or raise an alarm or confirm something and then keep on moving forward. So that's why we may observe our network. And we may also want to observe so that we know when we have to scale our network, when we have to go for more segmentation, or when we have to replace our network with a high speed network, or when we have to do more segmentation or more routing is needed. So that's why we may want to observe our network. So these are just some basic information about why you would observe your network. Okay.
True,
Now,
true, Ashish. So I was just thinking these align with, some of the questions I also had for you today. I was just thinking that when it comes to troubleshooting, like some of our network engineers might misconfigure, say, a security group or a NACL. Is there a way to fix that? How do we troubleshoot that? Or we have certain services which are contributing to a lot of high network charges. We see that very frequently in our bills, and we are wondering what's attributing to that. And like you said, security, right? We don't know what kind of traffic is incoming or outgoing. We need to figure that out also. So I'm looking forward to know about such kind of services which will help me with those both
Yeah, means that these
reactively
are the
and
customer pain
proactively.
point.
Yeah.
Exactly, Purna. Thanks for sharing it. So yeah, these are
Huh.
common customer pain point, and we observed it. We identified where the customer struggle, and that's
Hmm.
why we have started building those tools. And if you see, there's no one tool which can solve every
Hmm.
problem, but there are multiple tools which we will discuss today, and through that you should be able to get the solution to most of the problem. It may not fit as it is to your environment, so for that we can work together and we can then customize solutions if the need be, or we can help you to get the most out of what you are implementing. But your common pain point can be addressed by the solutions we are going to talk about today.
That's great, and I would love to see some demos as well as we go.
Why
Yeah.
not? I love demos because that gives me
Yeah.
perspective that okay, actually how it works rather than just whiteboarding. So we'll go into
Yeah.
demos also. We will talk about that.
Sure.
Now let me take a step back and be little on a trainer role and explain you that what is actually network observability and what main components are there. So if you want to observe something, you would start first with the collection. What you want to collect from your network or from anything you want to observe, you would start collecting. And in our cloud, we will talk about two things. We would collect metrics and we would collect logs. Simple example of metrics could be I have a load balancer, how many packets we are seeing or how many connection requests are coming on per second. I have a VPC, how much is the traffic coming into it, what is the bandwidth we are utilizing. So those things are called metrics, which is a tangible number I can monitor. What is a metrics? On the other hand, it is log. So when a service A is talking to service B, there is a communication happening between them. Or you are trying to create a resource and who initiate a communication to another resource. So that time we would collect log information. So for making the observability the best, you would need metrics and you would need logs. If you are just monitoring, probably metrics is okay, but when you are observing, you need to have metrics as well as a log. So metrics tell you what happened and logs may tell you why it actually happened. So once you combine that, that would give you the enough data to start your observability process. So once you have this data, you would start monitoring this data, and for monitoring you may set up things like alarms so that if a threshold is breached, you know about that. Obviously I don't want to look into log file continuously, so I may set up some dashboard, and from those dashboard I would be able to see things into a perspective. I may create filters on specific metrics, like if I'm seeing a lot of traffic for login, I want to get alerted or I want somebody to take care of that thing or raise a ticket. So I may create CloudWatch metrics filter there, as well as we may have flow logs, the purple color icon. That flow log would help me to understand what is happening in my network, who is talking to whom, what are the top protocols we are utilizing. So that would be the part of monitoring. So collect, monitor your information, and then you start analyzing. That is where you go little deep and understand why it is actually happening. Is it a normal behavior? Is it an anomalous behavior? Is it expected? It is unexpected. So that is what we do into analysis. And analysis, we have traffic mirroring services, we have reachability analyzer, we then have CloudWatch contributor insight, CloudWatch logs insight, network access analyzer, and as AWS has rich partner ecosystem, you will find lots of third-party solutions also which can help you in getting the observability for your network. So this is on a high level how services are combined. You would have some services for collection, some may be for monitoring, and some may be for analysis. Now there is no hard line between these things. So you may have some services which may also help you to analyze things and also monitor and also collect. So the line is blur, but this is mostly the high level alignment of every single service what we are going to discuss today. Does it make sense? Any questions here?
No, makes sense. We can go ahead.
Good. So let me first start with a very basic one, which you had said that you do not know what traffic is going on in your network, who is talking to whom, what
True.
kind of data is being transferred. Or I put it like that, I want to know in my network that who are the top 10 chatty people in my network who are sending lot of traffic,
Right.
right?
Lot
So
of
when I know
traffic
who is
incoming.
sending lot of traffic, I can start looking into ways to make the traffic low or maybe keep the cost in control. So if I identify a server who is sending too much traffic, I need to know why it is sending too much. Is it expected, unexpected? Maybe somebody is stealing data from it. Maybe it is expected that it will be transferring this much data. So I need to know. And for that, the first service I would start with will be VPC flow log. Very interesting service. This is like a view of whatever is happening in your network. Like I'm going with a magnifying glass into network and identifying who is talking to whom and what kind of traffic is happening between them, which protocols are the top used, what IP addresses are most commonly used, who is talking to whom. All this information I can get from the flow log. So let me explain what VPC flow log is.
That sounds great. So when you say it's VPC flow logs give you information about the network, so what is the scope of the network? Is it at the subnet level or the VPC level? Where do I use that?
Good question. So yeah, so when you're talking about flow log, so let me explain first what flow log captures. So flow log would give you information about IP traffic which is going into environment. Now, one common mistake which people think about flow log is that think that they would be able to capture data from the packet. Answer is no, this is not the data we are trying to capture from it. We are capturing the header information here. Header information means when a TCP IP packet is created, it is containing your data, and along with your data there is a header information in which we say who is source, who is destination, what protocol, which port number. That is what we are trying to capture. So VPC flow log are concerned about header information capture. It's not going to look into your data because this one is a layer 3 level service. So it can understand concept of IP addresses, port numbers, it can understand protocol types, but it will not have visibility on what particular HTTP request you send, or was it a FTP request or was it a SSH request. So we won't know that, but we would be able to understand the header information. And if I take an analogy, if you are sending somebody a physical postal letter, on the top whatever you have written that it is coming to and it is going to a specific person, to and from, that information we would be able to capture. We will not open the packet, we will not read inside it, but we will capture the header information. All right.
Got it. So basically for a deep packet inspection or intrusion detection prevention, this is not the service. I'm guessing there'll be other services for that, right?
So see, think about that your network is too big. You cannot
Right.
go to deep inspect everything on the very first movement. You need to
Okay.
find out that where it would make to sense a deep inspection, right? So when you
Hmm.
go to, let's say, a doctor, and if you have some problem, they will not directly go to that, go for MRI or go and do this and
Right.
that, right? They will
Right.
take some observation, they will identify what could be the possible cause, and then they ask you to go for further diagnosis. So I put it like that. So flow log gives you idea that what is actually happening, and when you identify this doesn't look right, then probably I will go and look for further analysis on that. So this is initial preliminary scan, you can call it, and then we would go into more technical scan if the need be. Does it make
Makes
sense?
sense. Yes, makes sense. Yeah.
Good. And everyone on the chat, keep your questions coming and we would be happy to answer as much as you have. So that is obviously giving you a good idea and hopefully we will be able to answer some question on that. So we will be discussing that how everything is working on. So flow log, as you mentioned, Parna, that where I should enable it. So there are multiple ways. So flow logs can be enabled on a VPC level if you want. You could enable in a subnet level if the need be, or you could enable on an instance level also. So it depends. If your VPC is too busy, too much traffic is coming in, I will probably not go with the VPC level monitoring. I may start with the subnet monitoring. And maybe within subnet, I may have a public network where I'm seeing a lot of traffic, a private network where there is less traffic. I would start with the high traffic volume like public, which is more complicated and need security better. I would go with that,
Okay.
and that's how I would be able to start forward.
So
So I could
basically, when you
enable
want
flow
to drill
logs.
down, Ashish, so when you want to drill down to more granular investigation, you reduce the scope, right? So, and just wanted to clarify when you say enable, so this is not given to you by default, right? You have to explicitly go and enable these flow logs.
Yeah, that's true. Why? Because sometimes the cost could be little higher when you are collecting so much
Okay.
data, and maybe you do not need it. right? So anything which is attracting unnecessary cost for customer and they may not need it, we don't keep them enabled by default. Like
Okay.
something like security in Amazon S3, that is a default behavior now, right? Because we want everyone to have security, but
Yes.
flow
Okay.
log is an optional feature. I would decide if I have to enable this or not, and if I have to enable it, what would be the scope of that. So I would decide that.
Got it. Got it.
Okay,
So I'm guessing that
so
we are capturing this somewhere. So
yeah,
at which
that's
level?
true.
Yeah.
So that would be the source. So source could be VPC, subnet, or ENI. I could say that, hey, I want to enable it on a VPC level or on a subnet level or a ENI level. And then obviously we need to send it to a destination. So there are some destinations available. One of the common destination we use is called CloudWatch Logs. So CloudWatch Logs is an umbrella service which can gather data from multiple services. So we could keep it. So we could get this data into CloudWatch Logs. Common one which is now becoming very prominent is Kinesis, because we may want to have huge volume coming in where we want to perform analysis on top of it, and through Kinesis I can feed it to third party sources, I can feed it to Amazon S3 bucket. So that is becoming another common source. And in case you just want to retain it for longer period, you just can transfer it to S3. It is purely your decision what destination you want to use on that. So once you have your data available in a destination, it may not be very friendly way of looking into the data. So what we would prefer, we would then prefer to perform analysis. And again, if it is a component which is having too many fields in that, we may want to perform analysis for that, and then you can use AWS services, so we can utilize that. We may use partner solution. We have rich ecosystem of partner. If you have heard about them, let's say you are using Nginx or you are using maybe Nagios, those all can be integrated here. You can build your own analyzer because it is a standard information which is given to you, and you can create your own dashboard in that if the need comes. And you can have any open source third party solutions also implemented, like Elasticache or sorry, open search and all type of stuff. Kibana you can use. So there can be lots and lots of third party solution you could utilize, should not be an issue. So this is what Flowlog's high level information is. I will also talk about key fact, that how the factors work on that. So
So
Parna, you have any
Ashish,
question
I
as
have,
of now?
yeah. So I was just wondering, since you said that we could capture logs at the ENI level, is it only for EC2, or can I capture it for all other services which use ENI also, like RDS, load balancer, Elastic Cache? Can I capture flow logs from that as well?
If that service has a ENI, yes. So anyone who
Okay.
has a ENI, we are able to capture log from that, because it is capturing on the wire level. So anyone who connects to wire, we are able to see it. Same like if you have a camera in your lobby, office lobby, if a person comes in as an employee, he or she will be recorded. If a dog walks in, that is also going to be recorded. So anyone who is having that network connectivity would be recorded by these services. Now there is some exception. Some internal traffic is not captured. Let's say when you
Okay.
are making a communication to Microsoft direct Microsoft licensing server to renew your Windows licenses, we don't capture
Hmm.
that, right? Because it is
Okay.
some secret information, so we do not capture that information. So very specific information which may be little risk to security, we do not capture,
Hmm.
but otherwise everything on the TNI level we are able to capture.
Okay, sounds good. Another question I was just thinking about it, like VPC flow logs. There could be a huge amount of logs, right?
Yep.
So, what if I want to disable the flow logs at any point of time? So, if I disable it, do I lose my previous logs, or what happens to them, or do they still stay on?
They still say on that how, see, because flow log are not destination, they are a mechanism to forward your request. So if you retain them in S3, that is your policy how long you want to keep it into S3. You bought it in
Okay.
Kinesis and then you dumped into your Elasticsearch service or maybe into Splunk service, then it is your destination and you decide what retention period you need for it. So even disabling flow log will stop collection but will not affect anything which you have already collected, should not be a problem.
Okay, that's great. And the collection, is this happening at real time?
Collection is not real time. It may be little delayed. So maybe a little, I would call it as a near real time as a mechanism, but it is not a real time, because if we do it real time, there may be little performance impact also. So it is near real time, maybe a 35 second or 60-second delay. We do not have a specific number, but it is not real time. It is near real time, which we have it here.
Oh,
And
I
one
was
more
just
thing I
going to
want to
ask
have.
you, yeah,
Exactly.
about the
This is what common
performance.
question we have, that would it going to affect my performance
Yeah,
because I am collecting data? So
of
answer for
course.
that is no, it won't affect your performance. We ensure behind the scene that this information is captured without affecting the performance. So whatever is your performance, if you think enabling flow log is going to create problem, answer is no, we won't have any performance impact. This is done outside of your environment in a way, so it will not be having any performance impact on that. Okay.
That's
And
brilliant. Yeah.
not real time, as I said, you choose the destination. We do not have real time log information. It is near real time where we get the data on that.
So I have one more question. So, how frequently is it capturing? So, is there like a capture window for it that it
So
grabs the data?
previously it was 10 minutes. So we were
Yes.
having a 10-minute aggregation interval, we call it. So they
Okay.
were logs were aggregated in 10 minutes and then being shipped. Now we have reduced it to 1 minute. So aggregation
Okay.
can happen on 1 minute, and I'll probably be able to show you this into the console when we go into.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. Yeah.
Nice. And one more thing we want to highlight here, that we have choice of format, because what we
Oh.
observed that when customer move from on-prem,
Hmm.
they may already have developed a system where they are pushing this data and getting a dashboard created or report created. So we want to give customer a flexibility that you could select choice of your format. So you define, hey, I want a standard format which is coming up, or you could say, no, I want to have a better mechanism and I want to control what is going collected. So we have all these options available, should not be a problem. So we
So
will
that's
go into
great.
demo and
So
see.
we actually have a tool which we use on premises which captures. So you're saying that I can actually add fields or omit fields based on my choice, right?
Uh,
Is there like a
let
default
me be a little
format?
careful in saying that. So
Okay.
some information metadata, if it is AWS specific resources, that is a
Hmm.
checkbox activity. So you want to
Okay.
now know that this traffic is initiated by which AWS account, or which VPC it is coming from, or which specific subnet it is originating from. So if it is a AWS specific metadata, we just select a checkbox and it will be captured with you. But now you
Got
want to put information like, I want to know I have 10 applications running in my VPC, which specific application is generating. So then you have to enrich that flow log. So what you could do, you could get that data into your Kinesis, put it through a Lambda function, process it, enrich the data, and then store it. So it will give you very customized information, but technically
got it.
possible, not out of the box. You may have to build a solution around it.
Got it. But can you just show me some of the fields or the format,
Sure,
default
I'll
format?
show that to you. So this is how the screen looks like when you are trying to create a flow log. So on a VPC level, if you see, there is an option which says select a VPC and say create a flow log. On a subnet level, you could do that, and on an interface level also you could do flow log, should not be a problem. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to take a workshop which is from AWS networking workshop, and I just used it for deploying a standard environment which looks something like this. And now on this environment I would show you a demo so that you can understand how easy it is and how effective it is to control and access all these things. Give me a minute,
Okay.
I will log into my
Sure.
demo account and we can go from there. I'm seeing Kapil is having a tough time answering too many questions. Thanks, Kapil, for doing it. There are too many questions coming up, and hopefully everyone is learning. Keep your questions coming. If we can't answer in real time, I'll look into it later and we'll try to answer it as a 1 minute question answer series. Okay, so we are into this environment. Let me quickly show some of the VPCs I have. So I'm going into my VPC section. Is screen size
Yes.
okay for now, or is it
Yeah,
good?
I think
Okay,
you
good.
could zoom in a little bit.
Little bit good, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, good.
All
Is
good,
this
everyone?
okay? What is the boundary VPC? I'll explain that digiboard in a minute. So, so boundary VPC is the name just I have given. Let me give you a basic example. So what I'm seeing here, that I wanted to have a deployment done Now region, I deployed it before in Ireland and now I have deployed it into Northern Virginia. So don't worry about that. But this is a VPC which I am expecting that in long run, this will be my boundary.
Ashish, your voice, I'm not able to hear you. What about the others? Are you all able to hear Ashish?
Uh, is it
Okay,
better now?
now I can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
good. Thank you. So I was trying to explain concept of boundary VPC. This is not a service. This is a term which we have created just in case that if you decided, okay, I want to have a mechanism that my multiple VPC should be sending traffic to this and all my external communication should be happening through this VPC so that I can centralize every communication, monitor it centrally. So that's why we are calling it a boundary VPC, but it is not a service from AWS. It is just the name I have given, and the idea is that we want to put everything into one single path, so monitoring becomes easy, controls becomes easy. That is the main idea of boundary VPC. Okay. So let's go back and see this thing. So this is my boundary VPC. It has some subnet and it has some resources. What I am going to do here, I am going to enable flow log on the VPC level itself, and then I would push this data into CloudWatch logs as a service. And requiring going to CloudWatch would require me to have permission and role and this and that. So I have taken example from AWS documentation. Why I'm using public information, so that you could also try in your own account. So I have this particular link which I'll be sharing into the resources, publishing flow log to CloudWatch log. So concept is pretty simple. I want a service which is flow log service to talk to CloudWatch, and for that it would require a rule and a policy. So let's go ahead and first create a policy and a role, and through that we would be sending information to CloudWatch log. So I will go into console again, and first let me go to CloudWatch as a service. I would create here a log group, and in that log group I would then start collecting my log information. So let me show that to you. I'm going to create a log group first. Log group is an aggregation in which multiple resources can put their log, and those individual resources will be called log stream. So group, bigger entity, within that smaller entities we have is called log stream. So I have so many of them previously
So each
being used.
stream is associated with the source, right, Ashish?
So
Each
yes,
log
exactly.
stream.
That's a good one. So every stream would have a source who is sending data to it. So let's say if I have VPC with 10 ENI in that, 10 network interfaces, I would start seeing 10 stream into my log group.
Okay. And a group has the same retention period, if I'm not wrong. Is
Exactly.
that's
So
how
if
we
it is
group?
a group, it will have similar type of entities in that. So if it is a group of Amazon EC2, only EC2 logs will be published on that. If it is a group of RDS, only RDS logs will be coming into it. So yes, group gives an idea of like similar people only we put in group, right? Same thing.
Right.
So we would have similar type of entity being published into group. Let me call it a name CW log group, and we would be then putting some information. See this. So on the log group, now I am saying that you were asking that can I retain it afterwards. So see this one, I have an
Okay.
option on the log group that how I want log I want to keep it. So I am saying never expire, but obviously
That's the
depending on
default,
your
right, Ashish? It that
sorry.
never expires is the default, right? Never
Yes, that is
expires.
default. That is default.
Okay.
But be aware because you may have cost
Yes.
associated with never expire. So it is always to check what defaults are and then see whether it aligns to your business need or not, rather than just going through that. Now,
Got it.
another good use case which has come up here is for standard and infrequent access. So if you feel that these logs are not going to be used very frequently, same like in S3 we have
Hmm.
infrequent access
Storage
here,
classes.
in the
Yeah.
log we can keep it, so the cost would be cheaper. So decide what you want. I'm keeping it standard as of now. I'm not looking for any KMS encryption, but it could be a compliance requirement within your environment. And tags can help you in cost allocation. So you may see how much I am getting because of these particular logs. So you could use tags for that. But right now I'm just creating a log group. So my log group got created. Let me refresh it and see this into here. So this is my log group. Hopefully should be coming up in a minute. Let me search for it. So this is my flow log group, right? Sorry, CloudWatch log group. This is what I created. So I'll go into that and I would start seeing that, okay, this has been created. There is nothing, I have not configured an anomaly detection and all. We will start seeing these
So
things in a
that's a
minute.
extra feature which we have to turn on, anomaly detection.
Anomaly detection, yes. And then again, there is a cost on that because it is
Okay,
doing some processing logic. So you could enable that if the need comes, right?
got it.
And good thing about learning AWS is that if you are not sure on any of the concept, most of these have links. Like I go to info, I do not know what is log group, so I can just read it. Very specific information. I got to know about it, done, and I can move on. So this is a good part. Like if I am not sure on what is show expired, so I could click on that and it will give me hint. I read it, I get enriched with my knowledge, and then I can keep moving on. So that's what I have done. So I
Yeah, and
created a
these
log
days we
group.
have Q, Ashish. We have Q also over there to help us just below that,
Exactly. The
right? On the
Amazon
right.
queue is there, so you could
Huh,
have used it to get the answer you are looking for. So yeah, that is
right.
completely possible. You could integrate Amazon queue, and that is a nice way of artificial intelligence or your
Yeah,
generative AI who could help you there. So ask question to queue; it can give you a lot of information. Now,
true.
my group is ready. I am ready to accept the log, but I have not started sending the log. So let's go ahead first and start creating those roles required for my CloudWatch. I'll try to drive it from the flow log level. So I am on VPC here, and I would select my boundary VPC, which is this one here. And on that boundary VPC, I have option which says flow logs, right? I would click on create flow log and I have to go through some question answer series. So I select that this is the right VPC. I know the ID of it. It is available. And here I have option to give it a name. So let me call it my flow log. I'm very creative with the name. So I'm using that. And then we have option to accept. So filter on capture only accept information or only rejected or only the all information. So for now I am going for all, but if you're
So
troubleshooting,
Ashish, I'm just pausing there. So accept and reject, is this something to do with my firewalls, whether it's been accepted and rejected when you say accept reject?
this is little lower than that, even before firewall. So you
Okay,
may send traffic to an instance, and if it does not exist, then
okay,
it is a rejected traffic. When an instance
okay.
exits and it accepts the traffic, it is accepted traffic. So accept and reject is even before firewall is applied. A packet may be rejected. Let's say you are trying to access a service which is having a port open, but the service is not running on that port. So let's say you are trying to access a service on port 22 SSH, but that machine's SSH is running on port 80. So that would be your rejection, right? So it
Okay.
is not
And
just firewall, it is a network layer information. Any packet which could not be acknowledged by the receiver, that is reject packet. Any packet who was acknowledged, whether the response comes or not, that's a different story, but it is accepted or not, that we could capture. So we could capture accept, reject, or all, anything you need here.
okay. So it could be accept rejects by security groups and knuckles also, right?
Could be anything, could be anything, could be
Okay.
host based firewalls also blocking that traffic, that can also be coming in here.
Got it. Makes sense.
Okay, this was the aggregation level I was talking about.
Hmm.
So aggregation can be 10 minutes, that is default. But for demo purpose, I am keeping 1 minute. Be aware about it. 1 minute aggregation would generate more logs for you, so cost would increase. So always just think about the cost impact and its other impacts also. And now I have very small specific option here. What is my destination? So my destination could be CloudWatch log, could be S3, and could be Kinesis Firehose, which can go into same account or can go into different account. Be aware about the naming convention. We start calling it just data firehose. Previously we used to call it Amazon Kinesis data firehose. So the
Kinesis.
naming convention has changed, but it is the same service. Right now I am interested only in CloudWatch log, so I selected it, and now I would have option to select all my log groups which are present to me. I am having all these log groups which are available to me, right? So I am interested to capture only this. So this is my CloudWatch logs groups. This is what I am looking for. So I would select it, and then I would need a role to perform this operation. So for that I have to create a role. Now, do you have to remember every permission? Answer is no. We give you documentation. So here is the permission required for it, and through that I would be able to perform the flow log operation. So I would need this permission to assume the role. VPC flow log would be allowed to assume this role, and what they can do afterward, they would be able to perform these operations, right? I am going to
Okay.
use a trick here, Parna. Don't do it in your production environment, but I am just showing you a trick just in case
Okay.
needed. This can be handy in some cases, but not a production level thing you can do. So I am copying this information that who can assume the role. I would go into IAM and I am going to create a role and I would embed the permission rather than creating permission separately.
Got it.
I am going to embed the permission. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'll go to
Okay.
roles and I say I want to create a role, and that is I am considering a custom trust policy. I copied that trust policy from there and I pasted, so only Flowlog can assume that role. Done.
Okay.
And now I am saying that okay, I don't want to associate a permission policy as of now. I will do it little later. And now my role is ready. Let's call it CloudWatch logs role, and this is the service who can assume the role. STS is the service allowing me to do that, and I say create my role, and my role is ready. Now
Okay.
in traditional environment or in regular environment, what you would be doing, you would be going to a policy first and then create a
Right.
policy associated with that. I am just doing a trick here. I am going to use something here which we call inline policy. Not a very common thing to do, and sometimes you would see some warning coming into some third party system, but inline policy is a policy which I'm embedding with the role itself. It is not separately created. So I am going here and saying, hey, I want to create an inline policy, and that information which I need, I could push it here. So I want my policy to perform what? I want my policy to perform these.
So
Create
it's
log
one
group.
is to one, right? It's like
It's a 1:1
it's
exactly.
stuck
So
to this
this
role, so I
exists
can't
only
reuse.
on that, and if I delete the role, it will be deleted. So that is
Got it.
called inline policy. Sometimes if you are troubleshooting and if you are not able to figure out that why the permission is still enabled, probably you should look for inline policies. Somebody may have by mistake created it or intentionally created it. So if I
Noted.
have a very secretive policy which I don't want others to be aware about, probably I would utilize this type of mechanism where I am keeping it as much unique to that specific role or a user or a group. No one else can see it. So I have created this. I'm happy, and now I have given this policy name, that is my inline and VPC flow logs policy. That is the permission. So I would be able to perform list and write permission on CloudWatch log, and my policy is now ready. I would use this log group and policy information in configuring my IAM role here. So I'll refresh, and probably my role should be displayed here. So this was my CloudWatch logs role which we created. And here is the field I was explaining to you that
Hmm.
you could go with the default format of the
Okay.
log. So in default format, if you have heard about something we call is, give me a minute, my give me a minute, my mouse is not working as expected. Okay, so here we have option which we can capture something called 5-tuple. That is a very common word you may have heard in networking. So when we say that, hey, we are going to capture 5-tuple, 5-tuple is basically saying the source IP, destination IP, source port, and destination port, and the protocol which is
Sure.
being used to send the traffic. So these five are the common one which we capture. So we can use 5-tuple, that is by default capture. But in
Okay.
case, so see, this is what my format looks like. I'll go into more detail, but in case you feel no, I want to track which specific account is sending this traffic, from which
Okay.
AZ it is originated from,
So
what is the
these are some
direction of
out
the
of
flow.
the box ones that I
These
can
are
pick
out
and
of the
choose.
box one. These are
Okay.
out of the box. So this is out of the box coming up. So you just select what you need, and we would start adding those information also with the traffic you have, like a VPC ID. Or what can be challenging, because let's say you are capturing data from a ECS cluster, and that
Right.
cluster may have multiple containers running. So if I want container level visibility, I could go ahead and say, okay, which specific cluster it is coming from, which particular task is sending it. So that granularity can be implemented through custom format. Right now it is just a demo, so I'm okay with default, but I just showed you that there are a lot of granularity you could capture within these flow log. Make sense?
So Ashi, I had one question that it
Go ahead.
says source IP address. Sometimes we have an intermediate service in between, like a NAT gateway or a load
Yep.
balancer. So is the source IP address the IP address for the NAT gateway and the load balancer, or it's of the actual source? How do I figure
You could
that
do
out?
that. So see this one. So in custom, you could have option that what was the originator of this. So packet source address can be added in that case.
Okay.
So in case you sometimes a device may take packet from someone and forward on their behalf. So if you
Right.
don't want that, or you want to capture the end-to-end flow, that time you could have selected the custom format and could have selected these settings if the need comes.
Got it. Okay.
Good.
Makes sense.
Okay. So I am on default format here. I would select this default format. I am happy with that. And I would say now let me create my flow log. That is how simple it is. It will take just few minutes, and obviously everything is automated possibly if you need to. So we should have no problem in enabling the flow log. So my flow log for this VPC has being started. As you could see, I am capturing all information. This is going into this destination log group. This is the role I have assigned, and if everything is fine, I should start seeing some information into my flow logs here. So I will go into my flow log. We have created this policy into IAM. We don't need it right now. Let me go to CloudWatch, and this is my log group, and there we may start seeing log stream. Give it few
Yeah.
seconds, or let me start generating few traffic so that we could start seeing some of them.
So you
Technically
set it to
speaking,
one
yeah,
minute, right, Ashish? So
yeah,
after a
its
minute,
aggregation is 1 minute interval, so it will still come. Most of the time, my network devices are chatty. So even if they are not sending actual traffic, they keep on sending some information like I am alive, keep alive signals, or maybe ARP request response. So that always happens. But just in case if I want to generate few traffic, I would be going ahead and then generating some traffic from that. So let me show what my environment is, and then I'll show what I'm trying to do. So this is my environment. I'm trying to log into any of these machines, and will start just a ping traffic to see how your options are and what I can capture from that. So let's go to machine B, and from there we would try to ping machine A. I have few instances running here. I would go to my instance B, and in that I would go ahead and say, hey, I want to connect to you, and then I will start the ping traffic. So I'm connecting through Session Manager. Session Manager is a nice service in case you want to keep your resource secure and still allow access through command line. I can come here and I can first check what is my IP. My own IP is 2.100. I am now going to ping 192.168.1.100 as a machine, and I am getting a response from that. So these are at least these two entries should be there into my someone who is sending the traffic and 1.100 responding to it. These two entries should be coming into my CloudWatch log. So I'm here, and let me refresh it again, and sorry, CloudWatch logs, and let's see if we get some entries here. See this. Now,
okay,
I just initiated from 2, but as I said, network devices are
lots of
chatty.
ENIs.
They
Yeah.
always talk, and if you look here, all these ENIs are displaying me the information. And if you want to know which specific ENI I have used, so I started from B, so I could go to instance B here, go into networking section, and I should be able to see the interfaces. And if a device has multiple network cards, they both will be treated separately. It will not be one entry, it will be two entry. So this has one interface only ending with E43. So I could just go ahead into my CloudWatch logs and should be able to search only for this entry as we see here. So this is capturing all the information associated with it. This is how the communication happened. So see this was my starting point, and then account ID, I'll show the detail of it, which ENI initiated the traffic, source,
Right.
destination,
So
port number, all of these traffic is captured here as we are seeing. And if you want to go into detail of it, this is what the actual packet looks like, and through that you would be able to see what we have actually got into this particular field. Right.
so
So this is
it's
how it
gone
looks, and
through.
see this.
So it's saying accepted, right? Because it's
Yep.
gone through. It was
It has
okay.
gone through, it has been accepted. So this is accepted, yes, exactly. And Elizabeth is saying demo god with you. I agree on that, Elizabeth. Sometimes demo does not work as expected, but today it worked, so good. Thank you, thanks demo god. So this is what we see here. And now as we are on the console, let me show one more good feature of CloudWatch logs, that is called live trail. If you're coming from Linux world, you would always do a tail onto log groups to just see what is happening. So here I could go ahead and look for my log group, and then I could start trailing those particular log group if the
So
need
it's like
be.
a
So if you
continuous.
It's a
tracking
continuously just
what's
I'm
happening.
monitoring. I don't want to run the command again and again. So I could just tail it and it would start showing the last entries which are popping up into my log group. It would start popping up. So that is a tail feature I'm utilizing.
So it'll be good
Good.
to see all kinds of ingress and egress traffic coming
Everything,
in and
because
out
I
from
selected
between.
accept all everything,
Right.
right? But
Or
if you're
everything.
troubleshooting, probably you would be very selective. Either I want accept or reject. So you decide what
Right.
works best for you. So
All right.
that was quick introduction of CloudWatch logs, and hopefully everyone is able to utilize these information. And let me quickly
And
summarize what we discussed. So CloudWatch
Ashish, just
log
one
group.
more thing. So these logs, once we've collected it, then I can use CloudWatch Insights again to further
If you
analyze it.
enable it, it will automatically be done. Insight is a smart mechanism who understand what you collected and then started giving you insight on that. So okay, based on
Hmm.
that, what is happening and all. So that yes,
Yeah.
it is automatically will be enabled. If you enable, it will automatically start providing you insight if the need comes.
All right.
So to
Okay.
summarize, we collected log into a log group. Log group was made up of log stream. Log stream had event, individual event, and as you could see, that was all on a ENI level. I showed one picture of ENI, but it can be multiple ENI which are becoming part of it. So that is all there. What was on those log field? So this is what we capture for default. So for default, this was the format I explained you. When I had custom, I could have selected more settings like direction, port number, source, destination, AZ ID, because I sometimes may want to know how much my AZs are talking to each other, because there is a cost associated with that. So I may want to track AZ IDs also when the communication is happening. And additional field which you could enable: source IP, destination, and then packet services, flow direction, traffic path, all these are there. You could use it. So this is all available in documentation. You could go on to
Okay.
AWS website and it will tell you that what these specific fields are, what is the meaning of that, what is the account ID contains. So this is all well documented. You could get this.
Yeah.
Why you may need it? Because if you want to enrich your logs with some other services behind the scene, then this information can be really handy. And this is how a flow log actually looks like. So the line which I showed you here, this this is what is actually here displayed. So this is version number of flow log. It could be 234. Account ID, where it is originated, which interface started it, what is my source and destination IP, what is my destination port numbers, what is my protocol. So this is 5 tuple, and then we have other information about packets and byte and start and end time, it was accepted or rejected, or what is logged or not. So skip data, log, all this information would be there. So hopefully this would
Okay.
help you in understanding what is actually happening. Now analyzing individual logs or coming here and looking at the log can be really complicated. I don't want anyone to go ahead and do this manually. So what we have a lot of integration. So this is a
Okay.
workshop you could try, where you could have integrated different services with it, and now you have built a dashboard in Kibana. Kibana is an open source visualization software. So now I captured all that, and now I want to know what are the top 20 sources of IP by ENI. Who is the most chatty person in my popular destination IP by my responses, who is being responding a lot, then what are my type of the machine who are top 10 IP which are coming to my application. So all this I can build, and this is all like available into your workshop. So in case you want to do it, you should be able to use Amazon Elasticsearch, and through that you can build a simple dashboard and get everything into visualization. Should not be a problem. So as you see, this is all the visualization we could create.
Right. Visualization always makes things easier to analyze, isn't it?
Exactly. All right. So hopefully that will give you a little bit insight on how these logs work. And I want to
Sure.
now address another question. So like the same analogy, you went to doctor, did a preliminary analysis, and now you want to go into a deep analysis. And for those type of thing, we have a service which is called traffic mirroring.
Oh,
Like a
does this,
mirror.
this sounds like a port mirroring that we do
Exact same.
on premises.
Exact. But we,
Is it
we
the
do
same?
not talk about ports in AWS. We talk about interfaces and all, or VPC. So this is similar stuff where we can do
Okay.
mirror. Like if you have a mirror, you see your reflection there, right? Same thing. You can have a mirroring created, and we can then send traffic to a analysis appliance who could start performing analysis on top of it. So that's what we could do. We will talk a little bit on the traffic mirroring. I'll explain you some use cases, why I may want to use it, and then we will move forward. Can
So
we
this is
paste
like
the lab
copying
instruction?
the traffic, Ashish? Is it like copying the actual traffic content?
Um, Yes, so your destination will not know that there is a replication happening, but we are
Okay,
replicating the same packet. So let's say that packet is going here, we create a photocopy of it and send it to any destination of our choice. So yes, it is
got it.
exact same packet without modification. It's in the pristine stage is being sent to the destination, and that what you could use it for maybe content inspection. So
Got
packet
it.
looks good, but within packet there are some anomalies. That's why I want to identify, and that is what content inspection. I'm troubleshooting something, I need more detailed information rather than just header information. So that
Okay.
time I may probably use traffic mirroring as a service. Then I may
Okay.
want to use it for threat monitoring also. So if there is a threat in my packets coming up, I am having DDoS attack, I want to go into deep inspection, I would go ahead and utilize these kind of threat monitoring type of services. So I could
So
use
I'm
those as
guessing
well.
here the payload is of importance, right? In the
Yes.
previous case,
So
yeah.
previous was a header. So
Okay.
I wanted to know who is talking to whom. And now I
Hmm.
want to know what
What
they are
are they?
actually talking about. Like it is now going and listening to that specific traffic or those specific packet when they are being sent from source to destination. That's what I'm trying to do with mirroring. So exact same information will be copied to a destination device or a target, and that is where we would start listening to it, and that can be a good use case for troubleshooting or threat analysis or just content inspection you could be
Hmm.
utilizing. There's a question from Digiboard, what is a payload? It is a military terminology. Digiboard, let me try to explain it. So in military, if you talk about projectiles or maybe you talk about the missiles, so those missiles would have lot of space for their fuel and all these things, and then they would have some payload here at the top. This is what you want to deliver to the destination. This is a bomb, this is something complicated, but to send this payload you need to have the whole structure. Same way, when you have a packet, you want to actually send your data, and that data is your payload which you want to deliver to a destination. But to send it, you have to put it into a wrapper like it is a gift you are sending to someone. So you have to put it into a box, and that is what is your header, and what is actually the data, that is what we refer as your payload. So payload is the actual content which you want
Hmm.
to deliver to someone. That's what payload is. Okay,
Ashish, I have a follow-up question. So,
go ahead.
does that mean are we copying all the traffic over? Is it possible that I just want to look at non-SSH traffic? Can I do any filtering, or can I cut down the amount of what we call as packet truncating? Can I do all those also in mirroring?
Yes, so see, this is your data, right? So, Parna,
Right.
you decide what is important to you. If you are capturing so much information and then you have to find a needle from the haystack, that's not a
Hmm.
good thing. So, we give customer
Absolutely.
empowerment that you decide, hey, I am interested to only capture X, Y, Z data, not all the data. So, yes, there is a filter option by which you should be able to capture your filtered information. Should not be an issue.
Great. And I obviously am looking forward to your demo, but I was just thinking, so the target, can it be just an EC2 instance, or it could be load balanced between multiple instances? Or is that possible? Like we have
Yes,
third
so see,
party appliances as well,
could
right?
be, because let's say you have huge amount of traffic coming in and you
Yeah.
want to process that traffic onto one instance. It may not have sufficient capacity to handle
Yeah.
all the traffic. So what
It
you
has
would
to be
probably
scalable.
do, you would have a load balancer in front who would receive the traffic and then send to multiple target behind the scene. So that's all would be possible. You could obviously go ahead and have a network load balancer or a gateway load balancer, and behind the
Load
scene
balance.
target could be
Hmm.
third party appliances where your traffic can be captured.
Great. Makes sense. Yeah.
All right. So traffic mirroring is going to help you with VPC traffic capture. It is a VPC feature. It captures traffic from an elastic network interface. By this time, probably you are able to understand what is the ENI. You can send traffic to out of band security and monitoring appliances. What is this out of band? So some services we provide, and some provided by third parties, so those we consider out of band. So it is not in the path, it is out of the path, and we are still sending traffic to them. So we could do traffic mirroring for that. So traffic mirroring basically replicate everything if you want, or you can be selective. We can send traffic to individual EC2 as I said, or you could send it to a network load balancer where we can listen to it and then forward it to backend if the need be. And we support ENI level capture on a EC2 instance. Customer can use open source tool if they need, or they can use a lot of solutions which are built into marketplace. And traditional operating system also have some dumping solution which we call TCP dump, so you could have used that too. So let me go ahead and talk about traffic mirroring, but there are some
Just
few
one
concepts we have to
question,
be aware.
Ashish,
Huh,
sorry.
go ahead.
Like, can the target or the target EC2 instance which is receiving, does it have to be in the same VPC or can it reside in another VPC or another account? Because it's
Good
always
question.
better to,
Yeah,
segment your network, right?
exact same thing. So yeah, I would recommend the same. So I may not want to put pressure on the system which I am monitoring. I
Mm.
would probably prefer to do it. And if you look from the enterprise design perspective, probably all this monitoring or identification activity will happen in separate account
Separate
altogether or a separate VPC. So yes, that is possible. Your source can happen, let's say in your production VPC, but your target where you are capturing your packet can be in a different VPC or can be in a different account also. No problem at all on that. That is completely possible.
Great, makes sense.
Good. So coming up here, so source is the network interface from which I would be capturing the information. That is my source. Target is where I would send my mirror traffic. So that is the source and target, pretty simple terminology. Then we create a filter. Like you were asking, would I capture everything? I would say, no, I don't want that. I may want
Right.
to capture very specific thing, and that is what I would use as a filter. And I may not want to capture this on a 24/7 basis per now. I am
Okay.
troubleshooting right now
Hmm.
and I want right now to capture what is happening. I don't want to capture the last 24-hour information. You
Hmm.
could, but if I want to start, then I would create a session. Like we
Okay.
hosted a session for Besa and then we joined and now we are communicating and then we will end the session. Same way, when you're starting the capture, you would go ahead and say, I want to capture this exact information right now. Once I am done, stop the session. So we could stop the session, should not be a problem. So let me go ahead and to
Helps to
console and
save
show you
cost
all these.
also, right?
Sorry, cost,
Helps to
obviously
go.
cost is
Yeah.
always there, so we need to be aware, and
Yeah.
that's why we need to give you a flexibility that when you want your session to start or when you want it to stop, so that all can be done, should
Got
not be a
it.
problem at all right, let me close all these things and I would again go into the similar type of same demo environment which I have set up. So I have some of my VPCs here. I have some of my EC2 instances here. So we'll start capturing some information and I have a specific machine where I want to send my traffic, which is my traffic mirror target instance. This is just the Linux machine. I have created it beforehand so that I can send traffic to this machine. Let's go ahead and start our mirroring section. So I'll go to VPC section and in VPC, I would have my traffic mirroring. So see this thing, sessions, target and filters. You can create them separately and then combine target and filter into a session. So let me first select a target where I want to send my traffic to. This is my destination device where the traffic will be captured. So I'm creating a target here and that is my, let's say, traffic mirror target. And here, as I said, it could be an individual EC2 or it could be a network load balancer or it could be a gateway load balancer endpoint. Gateway load balancer is used when you have third-party softwares running behind the scene. Let's say I'm using a third-party solution like Nginx, or I'm using Nagios as a capture mechanism. I may use those. I'm using some other solutions. I would use Gateway,
Okay.
and it will give me scalability because then I can enter so much traffic and then scale through auto scaling group number of instances who are running it. So I could do that. This is a more scalable solution. Right now we are just performing a basic test. So I would be selecting my network interface as a target, and which target. So these are all the ENI which are present, and that's why I am using here a ENI which is mapped to my target instance where I want to capture. So this is going to be my target ENI. I captured it and now I have just created a mirror target. So target is there. Now what type of traffic I want to send it to, that is what I would configure into
In
mirror
the filter.
filters.
Okay.
So filter basically will tell you what I want to capture. I would be very generic here rather than capturing specific. I would go with generic. So let's say call it capture all. And in that, again, concept is same. You create inbound rule, you may capture traffic in both direction, inbound, outbound direction. So you will add a rule, and here again options are accepted or rejected traffic, depends on your case. You could decide which protocol you are looking for. I am capturing every protocol, and obviously a filter can have multiple rules depending on what you want. And to keep things simple, let me zoom out a bit. See, this is how it looks like. So I start with port, and then protocol accept or rejected. I could go ahead and select it, and then I am putting a source CIDR here. I am interested to capture everything, so the best source CIDR I could put is 000, which means I am representing the whole
Whole of
network. I'm
internet.
not looking very specifically to individual components, so we are
Got it.
utilizing that. uh, Internal traffic there. I'm just looking in the question, give me a minute. VPC flow log cannot capture traffic from an external source. Yes, so there is a question which is talking about VPC flow log cannot capture traffic coming from external source. See, your external source is still coming through that, so you have your still, either it is coming through a net or it is coming through it is coming to an ENI, so it would still be able to capture that, but not the detailed information would be captured. So I'll address that question a little later. Give me some time, I'll address that question. So here I am creating this inbound rule, and now I am adding the same outbound rule too for all my protocol, and then I would use the same source IP address, and I would use the same destination CIDR address here, and that's what I have performed as a create. So I have created a filter here, and through that filter I should be able to then create a address. Give me a minute, I think I forgot to add the source. Yes, and let's create the filter. So filter is ready. Now what I want to start capturing my information. So I have created a target, I created a filter, and now I would start a mirror session, right? Before that, let's do one thing. Let's go into our console and access the interface where we would be performing things. Now, how this mirroring happens behind the scene, just to give you information, Parna, we use a mechanism which is called VXLAN. And this is a good
Okay.
homework for others. Go ahead and search what is VXLAN. It is called virtual extensible LAN. And through that, we put a overlay information, like on the
It's
packet,
like the
we add
extra head.
another information. Right. So
Okay.
we want to deliver packet in its destination in the actual format. So consider like when you are getting a package from Amazon, the package itself is into a box. Amazon will
Okay.
put one more box on top of it to protect the what is inside the package. So if I am sending a
Got it.
mobile phone packet as it is here and there, people may want to
Mm.
grab it, right? So they put it into a brown box which hide the internal information. So same is done by VXLAN. It will take your packet, put one more layer of outer layer on it, and then send it, so your internal information is preserved. Your source and target won't be changed in that case. So that is what
Okay.
VXLAN is. It's a good homework. Check, interesting topic, how you can utilize it. So this is what I'm doing. I have a target instance which is 2.100 in my environment, and now I have created a source. I have used this 2.100 as my source machine. I would be then sending traffic, and I would be receiving that traffic into my target machine. So first I have to create a target. I did that. Then I created a filter. I showed you that. And now I would start creating a mirror session. And through that session, we would be capturing the traffic which is originated. Now, how I would see what traffic is coming in. So I'm using a operating system level command here on Linux, which is called TCP dump. In actual environment, it would be a third party solution and appliance on which you would be capturing it. But just to make things easier here, rather than going into third party configuration and all, I am just utilizing this particular machine, and on that I would start running the TCP dump command so that we could see what is actually happening there. All right. So this is a target machine where I am expecting my traffic packet to show up. Right now I have not started the mirroring. So I would go ahead here and say sudo and then TCP dump, and then I would say NNI. These are just some Linux command. You could obviously find documentation around it. Should not be an issue. And then I am looking for capturing it on ETH1 because my network card has two, my machine has two interfaces. So I am capturing out on ETH1 of that machine. Now I would start the traffic mirror session. So in that case, I would say capture net traffic. I would say who is my source. So I have to select the instance which is my traffic source. So I would select that. So my traffic source here could be any of these instances. So I may select my net instance, ENI used by net interface. So I'm selecting that. It could be any of them, and then I would say which specific mirror target. So this is my TM target. This is traffic mirroring target. I can capture multiple sessions from that. So I would give them a specific number if the need be, and that VXLAN creates something called VNI, virtual network interfaces. So you could have captured that information too, what packet length you want, what filter you want to use. So I want to use a filter called capture all, and now I could start creating it. So what I did actually, if you look at, I first created a filter, then I created a target, and I combined filter and target together into something called my session. So this is a session, source, target, and these combined. This is what I would consider as a session, and I would have created it, and it would now start capturing information whichever is coming into my environment. See this? I did not initiate any traffic, but as I said, it is a net instance which is on a public network. So there is some communication already happening on it, and every packet which is coming up is being displayed to me. It is overwhelming. So probably you would have some solution who would display, and you would have a filter which is very specific rather than a generic filter which we are seeing here.
So we could have multiple sessions also running in parallel, but what could be the
Exactly.
use case for that
Maybe
maybe?
I want to send specific traffic. Let's say HTTP I'm monitoring with software X,
Uh,
and HTTPS I'm monitoring with software Y. So that time I may have multiple
yeah.
sessions established in that manner. Makes
Okay.
sense?
And until and unless I actually deliberately go and delete that session, it will keep on mirroring it, right?
You mirroring,
There is
right?
no
So your
time that I can set.
mirror is on, and you would
Okay.
have seeing the traffic. If you feel your work is done, you could go to that
Okay.
session and say, hey session, I am happy and I want to delete you, and then delete. Now deleting session doesn't mean that my data got deleted. My data is still captured by the device where I sent my data, target devices. So it is still there, but now I am no longer capturing the information. So this one is now done. There is nothing coming up here. As you could see, it has stopped.
So it's similar to flow logs, right? So when we disable it, it stops capturing it,
Yeah,
but
means
the logs
capture
are
is
still
stopped,
there.
but there is a little
Yeah,
difference between flow log and all. So we do not have time. Otherwise, I would explain the basic difference between them, but I would include it into the slide deck so you could read it, that
sure.
what is the difference between a flow log and a traffic mirror, because there is a subtle difference between them. So just to
Helpful.
summarize, we have last 1 minute here. So we could also use NLB as a target, as you were mentioning, because there are so much information
This is
coming
for
up.
scalable,
Instance
right? Scalability.
scalability, that is true.
Okay.
So here third party solution, we put them into auto scaling group, and we can then create this design. And if you look here, this design also says that I have created a private subnet where I'm capturing, and this is my load balancer. Similarly, there can be multiple methods of capturing. So this is the easiest one within the same VPC, but then I could have it across multiple account to see this. So account 1, account 2, and then account here. We can keep on sending information there. Account 1 and 2, they are separate. And similarly, if I have Lambda functions also needed, on that basis also I could start it. So there are lots and lots of configuration settings available through which you can perform on demand. This is account level, again bifurcation. Automation can be done. There is a nice auto mirror software which is an open source project which you can also use using tags. So tags can be used, and if you create an instance with a specific tag enabled, it will automatically be part of the capture which you are performing. So a lot of automation can
Okay.
also be done, should not be a problem.
Great. I
I'll
think this
also include this slide deck into
site.
the email, so
Mm,
you would be able to know how all these comparison work, what is the difference. But we have time limitation, and we want Kapil to
mm.
talk about some of the question he has prepared. But hopefully everyone enjoyed. We obviously could not cover all what we planned, but at least it should have given you good information about what network observability is. Okay.
Definitely, Ashish, it definitely helped us and gave us an overview of both and the differences as well. Yeah, so I hope everybody has got the gist of how to do this. And yeah, so over to you, Kapil, now. So
Thank you. Thanks, Parna. An
thank you
interesting
so much.
question, and hopefully everyone has enjoyed and learned something new. I would stop my screen share. Kapil, are you ready? with your slide deck so I can add you to the stage and then we can respond. So we are going through some question and answer. So obviously you are preparing for certification. So we want to ensure that you have some common question and a method to answer those things. So we should be able to utilize these things. And I will share these links for the demos in case you want to do it on your own. You could go ahead and perform these on your own account. Should not be an issue at all. Okay. Kapil, if you are speaking, I can't hear you. So if you could just let me know if you are ready for demo. Otherwise, I can speak for the next hour or so. Should not be a problem. Kapil, I'm not sure if he is connected. Parna, do you mind pinging him?
Yeah.
I'll just grab some water. Kapil is here. Hey, Kapil.
Hi, I'm still not audible.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
now you are
audible,
audible.
both visible as well as audible right now.
Okay, so I think I was on the backstage. That's why I was not audible.
Okay.
Sure.
All
And I
right.
think nice session. Thank you, Ashish and Prerna. Audience was loving it. The analogy that you gave and explanation that you had, demo is absolutely on the top.
Thank you.
Thanks. Kapil was like full speed answering
He
all
was
the
alone
questions.
today with so many questions.
No, no. Prasad came to rescue me.
Yeah, I saw him.
Okay.
And probably he's still jet lagged. So Kapil is also jet lagged on audience. So he just returned from New York and obviously still struggling to adjust with the time zone. But hopefully. So you want to share your screen, Kapil?
Yes. So before I dive in, how many of you want to be Amazonian in the future? Just give me quick messages in the chat so that I can share some insight being Amazonian.
Yes, there will be little delay in the response. So just bear
Okay.
that. There is a little time delay.
Okay. So why I ask this question, because we are going to practice this. So other than the lot of skills, technical and behavioral, that you need to good at two things for sure being a good Amazonian. One is the writing skills, and also you need to be in a habit to read. So there will be a time when you'll go in a meeting, and first half an hour or 45 minutes it's just quiet room and you will be reading it. So I'm going to replicate the same. I'm going to share a doc where I have a bunch of question, and we'll take 1 minute for each question and go to that. Maybe take time to understand what's there, and then we'll start discussing. So 1 minute for each question, and we'll do practice that habit, how to be in a room and read uh, patiently.
So just share screen and I can add it to stage. Parna, I can remove you so that you can grab some water if needed.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Kapil. Kapil, your screen is visible. Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, so let's go through the first question. Take a minute and read the first question that is in a bold letters, and take a pause and we'll start discussing after that. You can also ping in the chat that you are ready. Ashish, if you are monitoring chat, let me know when I to start so I can go to in the explanation.
Yeah, I'm monitoring it, so I'll let you know. Kapil, you can start, I guess.
Okay, so thank you everyone for taking time and going through. I think it's pretty standard question in for if you take the exam of solution architect associate, and I'm going to read it out how I will approach this question. So if I read it as a data engineer for a financial research institute, so keep the term highlighted because this is going to important. So financial research institution that analyze the large volume of real-time financial data. That second keyword that looks like important for me for now. You are tasked to migrate their workload on AWS for enhanced performance and scalability. This institution, give me 1 second, let me highlight this again. This institution requires a solution that handle complex analytics queries on multi-terabyte datasets. That's another key point. Analytics and query on the multi-terabyte datasets. So, which of the following AWS services would be the most appropriate for meeting this requirement? I'm very sure that you have get it right. It Amazon Redshift, because that provide you analytical capability that you can run the SQL queries on S3 through the Athena. So that's basically most closest one. DynamoDB is not meant for the financial data. However, it's not a thumb rule, but generally when you deal with the financial data, it's generally the relational databases. And when you talk about the RDS and managed services, I think you can directly discard the EC2 based local instance storage. That's not directly suitable. And if you are still like going for the Amazon, by chance if you have selected Amazon Aurora serverless, then probably you are not keeping the eye on the keyword that we need something that can do analytical queries at the scale. So most closest and most optimized answer for this particular question is Redshift Spectrum. Let's take another minute and read it out to the question number 2.
Yeah, I think we can go with the answer, Kapil. Probably most of them have
Yeah.
read it.
So this time what I've done, I highlighted the part already. So if you read the question, you understand that in financial environment where you have a strict security and compliance requirement, your company has a BPC with public and private and isolated subnets, each hosting different in application tiers. You need to design a security model using NACL and security groups to ensure specific traffic is allowed between application tiers, implement multiple security, and comply with the regulation and logging the monitoring and access. I think this is the like major part that you have from the second line to the last line. And if you read the options, use the security group to allow the traffic within a BPC, configure NACL to restrict the traffic between subnets based on the port number. This looks logical, but only thing that is missing is a regulation by logging the monitoring access. That part is not covered here. So that's why I'm discarding this. If you go for the second one, configure the NACL, and again, This looks like most close because it covers everything that question is asking. So I'll take for now this one. Third one is not going hand in hand with the requirement because it's talk about the web application firewall. That is something that is useful in terms of the security, but not something that you need for that, not help you in the monitoring and logging purpose. And again, in the last, they are talking about AWS config, which is also a compliance tool that will basically check your configuration against the desired configuration that you want to have for the AWS services. But that is not something that is used directly to monitor your network traffic. Let's take the question number 3. It's fairly like a small question, only 2 lines. So I have highlighted the main part. So if you see the streaming and when you see the content delivery, then you need to like it should automatically by this time you should be knowing that this is the CloudFront, since it is something that is used for delivering the your static information for cache and deliver the static content to improve the latency to the end user, and that's what is going to use here as a CloudFront. Route 53 is your DNS service, so that is not going to solve your problem in this case. And X3 transfer acceleration and the global accelerator is also not going to help you in this case. Let's take the last question that we have. So if you read a question, we need network is we need a effective solution for network scaling issue where we are managing the numerous AWS services in distributed environment across multiple region. I think I don't need to explain today the BPC flow log that is covered briefly by Ashish, and that is not something that is going to help you in the scaling your network. Then we have the second point, like CloudFront to optimize the content delivery. I think we just discussed, and this is not going to help you in scaling your network. So that is, I'm also leaving for now. Then we have third option, implementing transit gateway for centralized network management. And that's where we learned like AWS Transit Gateway will help you to create a hub and connect your VPN, other VPCs, and AWS Direct Connect, like your on-premise networks. That looks like most closest and right answer for me now. If we look at the Direct Connect, yes, that is one thing. But when we're talking about AWS resources distribution across region, then I think it's transit gateway. And if we are only talking about connectivity with the on-premise with the dedicated bandwidth, then I could have gone with AWS Direct Connect. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any follow-up question. Happy to chat afterwards also.
That's interesting, Kapil. Yeah, I mean, these question answers are really good because this gives you a way to think how to answer question. And as you mentioned, reading is a nice skill for any Amazonian to have. Obviously, you have to read a lot and lot of documentation and white papers before you move forward. So thanks for sharing that, Kapil. All right. Everyone, I hope everyone has enjoyed and learned something new today. I'll quickly go through some housekeeping item. I have to also announce the winner for the last week. We did not announce it, but now we are going to announce it. So we talked about Cloud Career Journey Starter Kit. So Starter Kit can be a good way for anyone to get started and then have a plan to work on their 6 months to 12 months of cloud career. Do practice, learn from Pluralsight, go through monthly mentoring session which we are organizing. And the first monthly mentoring session for the cloud career journey starter kit people is on 1st June. We are in preparation for that, and then we would be sharing detail with the individual who are part of that cloud career journey starter kit. We would be doing that thing on the 1st of June. Before that, you would get a link for it. If you could not join, you would still be recording it, and then others who are not able to join, they should be able to watch it. Coming back to giveaway and sponsorships, so we would be having winners announced. We are always every week we are selecting one person for the ebook and 10% for WizLab access. That will give you hands-on experience, and we are trying to be as transparent as we could be. Not everyone can be a winner every time, but yeah, we are trying to make people winner who are contributing to community, sharing their learning, enhancing us in giving us feedback or putting comments on our YouTube or enhancing our LinkedIn post. So whoever is helping us in making this program accessible to more people, we try to prioritize them. And this time is this list. So if your name is in this list, reach out to us. You could send an email to us, and then we should be able to facilitate your access to any of the WizLab platform, which is giving you sandbox environment to practice AWS skill. And Lynette, congratulations on winning the Cloud Career Journey ebook. So this would be shared with you. Please respond with your email address directly to me or the BESA email address, and we should be able to facilitate these things for you. So everyone, enjoy your time. Hope everyone has learned something. I'll quickly add Parna and Kapil to say just thanks. And Parna, yeah, you had a lot many questions for me, isn't it? So good for that.
Not,
Means that
not
was
as
really
much as
really
Sharik.
interesting. It is interesting because in customer conversation, this is how things happen. And just a tip for people: when you have to do a customer demo, be prepared. You cannot walk into
Yeah.
a demo and then expect everything would work. Still, even after preparation, things can go wrong. That is always a chance. But having prepared, at least you have mitigated some of the challenges which you may see. I was caught off guard one time in a customer demo. The UI changed, right, which happens very commonly in AWS. That's a UI for the service change, and I had to struggle a little bit to find where those specific options are now. But yeah, being prepared is the key for any successful demo. Practice it. And one more tip from me would be for demo would be, if it is a very critical demo, record it. If it is too many moving parts, record it. So in case something does not work out as you expected, at least you can show the output through a video or a screenshot of the end result. So be prepared for those type of situation when you are preparing complicated demo for customers. Any other tips, Parna, Kapil, you want to add?
I think
No,
it's
I just saw that people loved the questions that couple had put, and I think they really
Yeah,
enjoyed that. So probably they asked for more, so I said that we'll
we'll do
probably
that.
have them for the future sessions. So thanks,
yeah,
couple.
that's
Exactly.
the trick part, Perna. I wanted to keep it minimum so that everyone loves it. If I'm going to do the 10 question, then people might hate it. So give the
I
suggest
get
and
it.
then probably
Yeah,
like encourage them
it
to
need to be
participate
perfectly
more.
balanced. I agree on
Yeah.
that. So
Right.
thanks everyone. Have a good weekend, and we will talk to you next week. And if you are in UK, enjoy a long weekend. Everyone else, have a good time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.